to learn about special education. In this school, you don't have to worry about ADHD diagnoses. In this school, you will never get a phone call from a teacher or an administrator telling you that your child needs dangerous psychiatric medication in order to get an education. All right, welcome everyone to Chris. Thank y'all so much for tuning off. Yeah, now we got a bit of a mini marathon today. We're going to take our time, get whatever we want to get into. Appreciate y'all's presence. Happy Memorial Day. Good breakfast Sunday feet. Let's go.
FDNG is coming. FDNG is coming. FDNG is coming. It's coming. FDNG is coming. It's coming. FDNG is coming. It's 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 coming. Oh, it's coming. FDNG is coming. FDNG is coming. Thought it's personality. Be twerking, it's twerking.
Yeah, happy Memorial Day, everyone. Thank y'all so much for tuning on me. It's a bit of a mini marathon. This is a new series I decided to start. I've been wanting to start it for quite some time, but it's dealing with the history of Umar. It's tied to the documentary that I'm working on. I've already released 3 segments and then an introduction for members. I'm going to play one of those segments today, or at least 1.5. I'd say, let's say 1.5 segments, if that makes sense, during this live stream, because we're dealing with the Umar Johnson history. It's 2025, and thanks, Lady Bell, for being here. I appreciate it. When you could press chat. It's 2025. Umar conceptualized FDNG in 2004. He stated that he began starting the process of building it in 2005. In 2010, he stated that the school was going to open September 11, 2013. He started raising money for the St. Paul's College in 2014. He purchases these abandoned buildings in Wilmington, Delaware, and they're still on the vacant property list today in February of 2019. And here we are, and he's given different dates for grand opening, starting with 2013, then 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. This last month, he changed it to 2026, the grand opening. He's still collecting money. He's raised well over $2.6, $2.7 million, based upon my estimations, but based upon his own words, bare minimum $2 million. He purchased these abandoned buildings in Wilmington, Delaware in 2019, and he's been sitting on them ever since. 6 years later, and there is still no school, no functional school. He's admitted that the school, if and when it opens, will not be accredited. What's the point then? And he expects parents to pay $500 a month for their children to and not only enroll, but participate. That's just tuition. That's not everything else that Umar plans on having up at these abandoned buildings. It's a long con. Umar's a con man, and his history proves that to be the case. And it's not just with the FDNG school scam. Umar has had many different scams over the years when we talk about his history. What are some of the other scams? Well, he had a scam that was the Detroit school scam. There was a scam in New York City, Mount Vernon, New York. That was a school scam. There was a school scam where he said that he was going to open up a school in near Los Angeles. That was another school scam. Well, there's a school scam in Ghana because he said he was going to open up a school in Ghana. He said he was going to open up a school in Manchester. Yeah, there's a school scam in the UK. I can back all this up with receipts. What other scams has Umar run? He's run a scam on books that he collected pre-orders for and never produced the books. One of those books is The Rules of Romance. He was collecting pre-orders for all the way up to 2022. That book still has not come out. Another one of the school scams that goes way back is Umar's documentary. He called it the Shockumentary school scam. And this Shockumentary was supposed to premiere in the fall of 2014. He was collecting money then. He was collecting money for that particular scam all the way up through 2022. maybe 2023. I'm going to go with 2022. Give him some grace here. That still hasn't come out, but he collected money for it. Well, the same thing applies to FMG. FMG in Wilmington, Delaware, this particular iteration of the scam, it's not the first FMG school scam, it's just the most recent one. We're talking 6 years later. In fact, February, March, April, May, we're talking 6 years and 3 months later, and there's still no functional school, not even close. And yet he stated that the renovations were complete back in 2023. You see, what Umar has set up for himself is a situation where he's made a promise to black people to open up a school to save your children from the school to private line. Initially, the school was supposed to be a boarding school for boys and for girls. And boys and girls. It was going to be a boarding school where the children live on campus with him. This is what he promoted to people. And he was asking for donations. Though Umar states that he first started raising funds in 2014, that's specifically for the St. Paul school scam, where he started raising funds for the St. Paul school scam in April or May, because I've heard him say April, I heard him say May of 2014. That's 11 years ago. But he was collecting money for that. In fact, I have a video where he was talking about in 2013 how he wanted people to donate to him for this FDMG school. We've also had people talk about where Umar was, he had other scam type of projects. One of the scam projects was like a Boy Scout program going back to 2010-ish. And on this Facebook page, he mentions these types of things. Well, all these things that Umar stated he was going to do, he was collecting money for. It's just that it wasn't outright. It didn't become like in terms of social media where Umar states it outright on social media in and around 2014.
Hey, man.
Hey, what are you guys doing?
None. I just gave him a shower. Hey, you think it's cool if I just take him to school tomorrow, just because I'm super busy?
Okay, I have his balloons. I told his teacher I was going to put them in his backpack, so are you going to come pick up the balloons?
Yeah,
first?
I'll come get the balloons.
Okay, I guess.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just like, it's hard for me to go there, stop, drive, and then come back, and then it just I just lose focus,
Okay, well, I texted his teacher. I showed her the picture, so you got to come pick it up before he goes to school.
No, I
She
will.
was asking for donations and stuff, so.
I will get him, I promise you.
And he needs to be in a swimsuit, so you got to change him over here real fast, too.
Okay, I'll leave extra early.
Yeah, so that way he can, because the teacher said to dress him in their swimsuit first and then a pair of clothes to change in, so.
Okay, I gotcha. Understood. I appreciate it, babe. Sorry, I'm just stuck focused on work right now. So.
What's he do?
He's hanging out with his Lola right now. You want to talk to him real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. Papa! Mateo! Here, mommy wants to talk to you.
Yeah? Hi, Bo. What are you doing? What are you doing? Hmm? Hello? What you doing?
Hello.
You don't know? You don't know? Tomorrow's water day. Mommy bought water balloons for you so you can take to school. Make sure you give it to your teacher, okay?
But I got someone already gave them to
Well,
teacher.
I bought 2 packs, and then make sure you tell your teacher you have that, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, and then you have to come change it to your home so that home first before you go to school, okay? Hotel?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Am I
before
gonna
you
go
go to bed, call mom and say goodnight, okay?
to tonight?
Yeah, I love you, Bo.
Good.
I'll see you tomorrow, okay?
Sure.
Okay, bye-bye, love you.
I love you, mommy.
Love you, mommy.
Okay. All right.
Okay, babe. I'll be there early tomorrow.
All right. Bye.
Daddy,
That he's only been
it
raising
said,
money since
get-
2014. Yeah, well,
get
for the
your-
St. Paul school scam.
Dad,
yeah.
I need
But
a
he was
towel,
raising money
Dad.
other
For what?
things like that,
for if I
FDMG,
get wet.
Okay, but that's
daycare,
tomorrow.
Just something. I think he said daycare, something out that, something to that effect.
I'm going to take you to school tomorrow, okay? So you're going to stay here tonight.
none of it came into fruition.
Yeah.
What Umar would do is that when he would go to these lectures back then, he would talk to people about, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that, and they would give him money afterwards. But see, it's not until 2014 where that's when his social media presence really started to pick up. It's after the Hidden Colors, which really blew him up. 2014, then he starts talking more about opening up the school again. Even though he was talking about it in 2010, he said, "I'm going to be laying the groundwork for the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. This will be a private school. Yes, your son will, and yes, you will pay in order for your son to attend." The grand opening September of 2013. Okay, how does he say that in 2010 without any money, without collecting any money for quote unquote FMG? See, FMG, the idea of FMG is not just a school. FMG is associated with the daycare program. It was an after-school program. They take it back. After-school program, not a daycare program. After-school program. It was associated with the after-school program, the Umar Johnson Boy Scouts program. He called it like the red, black, and green RGB Boy Scouts program. That's all under the umbrella of FMG. The rules of romance, FMG. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. That's Umar. A lot of this is motivated by money, sex, and drugs. We got a lot to get into now. And what else is under FMG? The documentary that Umar stated that was going to premiere in 2014, the fall of 2014. He was still collecting money for that 2 years ago. It still hasn't premiered. Sound familiar? Well, that's under the umbrella of FMG. So what Umar has set up for himself is to make promises to people that he's going to do all these things. We're going to have an FMG gun club. We're going to have an FMG farm. We're going to have a non-alcoholic vegan sports bar, RBG, Black Conscious. And so people send him money for these different ideas that he has. And someone said during the last live stream, what people are really donating to is Umar's imagination. But what has brought him the most amount of money has been the FMG school scam. More specifically, the St. Paul school scam in 2014, and then the Wilmington school scam in 2019. And so Umar doesn't have to produce anything. He hasn't produced anything of consequence. He's written 2 books. He's thrown 2 block parties. I won't always give Umar credit for things. Outside of that, he just runs his mouth. The 2 books can be easy, intellectually speaking, can be dismissed because there's no source material. Okay, they're not scholarly. Umar claims to be the most impressive scholar, but he's not scholarly. How are you going to write 2 books with no source material whatsoever? The 2 block parties don't benefit black people, don't benefit these black boys and black girls. Remember, he said black boys, black girls, but he's downsized over the years. It's going to be a boarding school. Then he said we're just going to have a school for just the boys. If throwing 2 parties in the middle of a street, that doesn't benefit this whole movement of that Umar Johnson promised of saving your boys from the school prison pipeline via FMG, the school. Outside of that, what does he do? He runs his mouth. But in particular, it's the school scam, the FMG school scam that brought Umar the most amount of money. He raised over $400,000 on GoFundMe before they shut him down because of fraud. He's raised well over. There was a point where within the course of, it was about 10 months, Umar had raised $125,000 on PayPal. Cash App, they shut him down because of fraud. More recently, there's no telling how much money he's raised on Cash App. Altogether, my best estimate is a low ball figure, $2.7 million over the last 11 years. I have him on record, and I can prove, based upon his own words, $2 million. But he told people in 2025 and in 2024 that he hasn't even reached $1 million. So he set up a situation here. Well, all he has to do is make promises to people. He doesn't fulfill any of these promises. And a promise that goes unfulfilled is nothing more than a lie. So he's a habitual liar, and people send him money. Umar doesn't have a job. How does he survive? Donations for it from the school. Umar doesn't have his own car. How does he pay for all these rental cars? Donations from people from the school. People send money for the school. Umar doesn't have his own residence. He's been homeless since 2019. He got evicted in the residence where he flipped his phone back in 2010. He was able to resolve that, stayed there until 2019. Towards the end of 2019, he gets evicted. He's unable to resolve that because he couldn't come up with the money. Because he had spent the money, whatever he had left, to purchase these abandoned buildings. And after he purchased the abandoned building, he should have been sitting on roughly $850,000. Where'd this money go? That was back in 2019. He's been collecting money ever since. Okay, $2.7 million. But see, Umar doesn't have a job. He doesn't have his own vehicle. He doesn't have his own home. He likes to eat. Who's paying for that? You donors are paying for that. You're paying for Umar's lifestyle, and you're paying for his imagination. He has produced nothing that he promised you guys he's going to produce. But what does he do? He run his mouth. He's a con man. And con men, they can run their mouth. They can run their mouth. See, and Umar spends so much time disparaging black people. It's amazing to me that black people send him money in the first place, but he spends so much time disparaging black people, especially successful black people. And in particular, he targets successful black men. There's a whole so I put together a list a couple of years ago. There's a list of it. In fact, one of the individuals that he took a picture with recently was Dave Chappelle. You guys know this? He's taking a picture with Dave Chappelle, but I have 3 videos where Umar is chastising Dave Chappelle because Dave Chappelle is a quote-unquote bunny hopper. Or in Umar's words, he has a rice bunny. See, he'll talk that talk, and he'll disparage Dave Chappelle. See, Dave Chappelle probably can see this, and he'll disrespect Dave Chappelle's wife, right? But as soon as he has an opportunity to take a picture and cop chase off of Dave Chappelle, he will take that picture. That's Umar. He's the ultimate contradiction. Okay? All right. So what we're going to do today is we're going to get a bit into this history. Everything I've said here, I can back it up with proof. In fact, let me do this. I'm going to do a screen share. I do have the Umar Johnson timeline that I've been working on. This is for the documentary. I already produced 1 documentary. It's on here on my YouTube page. I'm working on the second one now. It'll take a lot longer than I thought, but at some point it will be done. Let me do a screen share here. So this is the timeline. We'll go through some of the stuff on the timeline. We don't go through all of it. Okay. The other thing is I want to show this just before we get into this. I guess we're kind of getting a little bit ahead, but I think that's okay because I just want to make this clear about see, Umar hasn't produced anything, but he makes promises and people continue to send him money. He's living off of this money. He has been since at least 2014. Here is, let me do another screen share here. Okay. So I have Umar on record at the end of 2016. 16 said he had already raised $1 million. And he said, we almost got $1 million. We're just going to go with $1 million. 2014 to 2016, $1 million. I got to pull up this other, if I remember, I'm going to pull up this receipt because Umar had raised $500,000. I think it was over the course of a year and a half, I believe. Matter of fact, let me write this down because I'll pull that up for you guys. I think I showed recently 500,000, and I think it was in 1.5 years, something like that. I think it's inside of the documentary I'm working on right now. Anyway, from 2014 to 2016, $1 million. Umar is on record after that saying that he raises about $125,000 a year, which is not true because on this IRS filing, a more recent one, it was $200,000, over $200,000. But we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt. We're going to say from 2017 through 2018, we're going to take $125,000 plus another $125,000 to cover those 2 years, and then $250,000. You add that to the $1 million that he had collected from 2014 to 2016. And from 2014 through 2018, Umar had raised $1,250,000. Now, this is specifically for the St. Paul school scam. Okay? But at a certain point, he leaves that school scam because he was promising St. Paul's from about 2014 to 2016. But then he starts looking, actually 2014 to about 2015, but he was still bringing it up later as if he was still going to purchase it. I have him on record when he's such a scam artist. At a certain point, he pivots to, I'm looking for schools other than St. Paul's. That gets to 2017, 2018. He finally, and it actually before this, it actually gets into 2000, I'm going to say towards the end of 2015. Okay, but all this will be inside the document. He purchases these abandoned buildings, and the purchase price that I was able to find was $400,000 online. Umar never provided any receipt on how much he acquired these abandoned buildings for. The people who speculated that he got them for free, that it was donated to him. I'm going to give Umar the benefit of the doubt. He's never had transparency. I'm going to say $400,000. It could be much less than that. It could be a lot more than that. But I'm going to give $400,000. In my estimation, it's probably a lot less than that. But I'm going to say $400,000 here. Now, if we took the money that he had raised from 2014 to 2018, $1,250,000, and we subtract the $400,000 back in 2019, after Umar acquired his abandoned buildings, he should have been sitting on $850,000. Where'd this money go? And see, Umar didn't start with renovations right away, even though he stated that renovations were going to cost $1 million for both sides of the street. Okay, these buildings sit on. There's 3 buildings. He says 4. He says there's 2 schools. No, there's 3 abandoned buildings. Okay, but Umar always exaggerates. This is part of Umar's manipulative tactics as a con man. He always overstates the good, and then he understates the bad, unless it's dealing with the money. When it comes to the money, he always underestimates how much he has received, and he overestimates how much money he needs. He should have been sitting on $850,000 in 2019 after acquiring these abandoned buildings, and he doesn't start renovations for 1.5 years. Why? Because he didn't have any money. $850,000 was gone. So he comes up with this scheme, this scam that, okay, I'm trying to find the blueprints, and I can't start renovations until I have the blueprints. Some of y'all remember this at the one, and this goes on and on and on. And Umar Johnson, he always has an excuse. He just goes on and on and on. But the truth is, he didn't have any money left over. In fact, why is it that in 2019, the same year that Umar acquires his abandoned buildings, he gets evicted and does not have the money to resolve the eviction and has been homeless ever since? He's been homeless ever since. Well, I see him in hotel, motel rooms. Yeah, of course. You see him in hotel, motel rooms. And if you do the research, you'll see it coincides with that eviction. And who's paying for those hotel, motel rooms? Umar doesn't have a job. He hasn't worked since 2010, 2011. I do have a receipt that shows him in an office in 2014, but I haven't been able to verify that he was actually working someplace. Based upon his own words, he stated that he gave up his career as a school psychologist in around 2010, 2011. Because then he committed fully to this Black conscious stuff, and he's going to go on, he's going to be lecturing and teaching the people and raising up Black consciousness, and so he had to forsake his career, even though he spent 20 years pursuing degrees and didn't get his PsyD until 2012. Two things don't add up with this guy. They never do, because he's a con. And the story that he tells people, to this day, he still tells people he's a school psychologist. He tells people he's been a school psychologist for over 25 years. Well, how's that possible? Umar hasn't worked a job since 2010, 2011. And he's traveling all over the world. He's still telling people to this, in 2025 that he's a school psychologist. He's traveling all over the world. You got to be at a school to be a school psychologist, right? I've yet to find one receipt that shows Umar was a school psychologist. I give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm talking about during the time period after 2010, 2011. I've yet to see him. I've never seen a receipt of him being a principal. I've never seen him a receipt of him being a vice principal. Although he did post a picture where it was his name was on this laminated paper on a door, and it said Umar Dr. Johnson, whatever, school principal, something to that effect. If anyone has a receipt, please send it to me. Let it out at yahoo.com. I go based upon receipts. I sometimes give Umar the benefit of that on things, on certain things, but he lies so much. Never take anything that he says at face value. If there's no receipt associated with it, if there's no true transparency, I'm talking about verifiable, don't accept anything he says, because he's a pathological liar. He has formulated and he's manipulated so many people to think that he's all these things. That he's achieved all these things. But no, what he's become is he's an international hobo who doesn't have, and he's homeless, doesn't have a job, doesn't have a home, doesn't even have his own vehicle. So where does he stay when he's not inside of these hotel motel rooms? Well, in 2019, you start seeing him in hotel motel rooms. You don't see him inside of the apartment that he was renting. I'll show it to you guys right here. So let me tell you the history. See, this is where Umar would mainly where he would mainly live stream out of for many years, in point of fact, up until we get into 2019, towards the end of 2019. That's because he got evicted from his residence, and he's been homeless ever since. What did he do? We started seeing him for like 1.5 years. Yeah, about 1.5 years. He's in and out of hotel motel rooms. Well, maybe they bring in, see, I'm giving the benefit of the doubt. Well, maybe it's because they're having him speak. Yeah, there's times where they have him speak, and they will put him up inside a hotel motel room. but that's not all every day throughout the year. See, you guys go back and look at the timeline. You actually look at the receipts, the videos where Umar was posting where he was live streaming. I got all of them. Download all of them. You'll see that he's live streaming from different places, including places in Philadelphia. Well, if you have your own place, you from Philadelphia, why are you live streaming from Philadelphia hotel motel? So what ends up happening is, however, when the money starts to get low, when he doesn't have money from donations from you FGP donors, when he doesn't have money to give himself a place to stay, hotel motel room, what does he do? He started staying inside his mama's closet, literally, in his Section 8 house. Literally, you have the paperwork. This is the residence that we would see Umar in for many years. Okay, let me show you.
Strong mail, send those resumes in. FDMG resumes at gmail.com. FDMG resumes at gmail.com. FDMG resumes at gmail.com is what we're looking for.
See, this is 2019. He was staying in at this residence, this apartment, living in this filth since 2010, at least 2010, because that's when he got his first eviction. Obviously, he had to have been there before to that eviction notice. He gets that eviction. He was able to resolve it. But by the time we get to 2019, he's still living inside this abandoned. He's still living inside of this trash heap. He's a hoarder too, by the way. He's still living in this filth, but by this time, he's in a position where he had to put down all this money to purchase these abandoned buildings. He had nothing left, so he gets evicted from here, and that's when you start seeing Umar inside a hotel motel rooms. And then after that, you start seeing Umar inside his mama's closet. Okay, let me just do this real quick. I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna give you an example of him being in hotel motel rooms, and then I'm gonna give you an example of him being inside his mama's closet. Here we go.
Strong alpha male, send those resumes in. FDMG resumes at gmail.com. FDMG resumes at gmail.com. FDMG resumes at gmail.com is what we're looking for. My thing is y'all need to. What happened? I'm in the process of relocating to Wilmington, Delaware, so the apartment is a mess right now. Y'all don't need to see all that.
He never moved to this day. Today,
I'm in the process of relocating to Wilmington, Delaware. I'm in the process of relocating to Wilmington, Delaware.
see him lying?
I'm in the process of relocating to Wilmington, Delaware.
All right. So what we find, what happens after this is that Umar says that he's in the process of moving. That's his excuse as to why he's living in filth. No, he had been living in filth like that since at least 2010. He's a hoarder. He doesn't like to clean up, and he's filthy like that. Right? But let's be clear about something. That once Umar is evicted out of this spot, we start to see Umar inside a hotel motel rooms. Okay, so let me give you and inside of his rental car. I forgot about that one. He would be in hotel rooms and inside of rental cars. Let me give you an example of Umar inside of a rental car. Okay, towards the end of 2019, after he's evicted out of this place, look at the bill here. This is something that says it. he talking about how he wants to start traveling, going to each state when he's supposed to be opening up a school? Critical thinking. Wouldn't it make more sense for Umar to be saying, "Hey, listen, I'm posting on this school by the time December"? Then he don't have no money. He already did. He should have been sitting on $850,000. Did I finish that too? By the way, I didn't even finish this real quick. I'm gonna come back to it. Just get back to the money. Look, real quick. Okay, this time period that we're looking at in Umar's history, this is in 2019 towards the end. He should have been sitting on $850,000 after he acquired the abandoned buildings in 2019, February 2019. There should have been $850,000. He had collected money from 2019 through to 2024. We're not even counting 2025. And if we just go with the rate of $125,000 a year, that's $750,000. Well, he's collected more than $125,000 a year. I have the receipt from the IRS filing. We collected $200,000, over $20,000 in one of those years. But we're going to give Umar the benefit of the doubt and say $125,000. So we're going to cover that. We're going to say 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 23, 24. We're going to multiply, 19 through 2024. Okay, so it's going to come up to $750,000. Now, after acquiring these abandoned buildings, he should have had left over $850,000. We're going to throw in that $750,000. Well, then total raise at that point, minus the acquisition price, the purchase price, he should have had. Right now he should be sitting on about $1.6 million. Now let's throw back in the purchase price of these abandoned buildings of $400,000 right here. From 2014 through 2024, bare minimum $2 million. That's a bare minimum. But a more accurate, more precise, I should say, estimate is 2.6, 2.7. It could be $3 million, but I give Umar the benefit of the doubt. 2.6, 2.7. Okay. So the point is that in 2019, Umar should have been sitting on $850,000, but he can't start renovations yet. Why not? And then he gets evicted the same year. Why? Because the money's gone. That's why he has to come up with a new scheme. He started talking about how he couldn't find the blueprints for some reason. That's digital these days. He doesn't start renovations for a year and a half. And during that time, Umar's living inside of hotel rooms, and he's live streaming from hotel rooms, and he's live streaming from his car. Probably living in his car when he had to, but things really got bad. I wouldn't be surprised about that, but I can't verify that. I do have a receipt where there's a blanket in the back seat. But I can't say that he was living in his car. Okay, I do know he was living in a motel room that at certain point started in the mama calls it, literally. Right? So I'm going to ask the question, why is it that by the time we get to December of 2019, Umar is saying that he wants to go on basically a state-by-state tour, go to all 51 states, whatever, 51 states, to do these, y'all remember this, to do these Black Parent boot camp trainings or something to that effect. Why is he doing that? Well, it's very simple. Umar doesn't have a place to stay. So he has to come up with something to go and do, wherever he goes, the people who bring him out will provide him with room and board, a hotel and motel. See how light bulb goes on? That's what the Umar Johnson history is so fast. See, I didn't even pick this video out, the video that I'm playing. I just randomly picked it out, but you listen to what he's saying. It makes no sense that by December, he gets evicted towards the end of the year. He's talking that same year. He's talking about how he wants to go to all of these different states. Well, if he does that, they're going to have to provide him with room and board, right? Okay, well, that provides him with lodging, and he's been living like that ever since. Yeah. He's a vagabond, literally. He's an international hobo. Listen,
North, South Dakota, peace and love, family. This is King Kong Consciousness, Dr. Umar Johnson, coming to you live and direct, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Special announcement, very special announcement. I won't be long. In the 2020 year, I'm going to be hosting a national 50 state-by-state NIBPA Black Parent Crush the School to Prison Pipeline Know Your Rights statewide conference. I repeat, I will be coming to every state, North Dakota, South Dakota, Utah, Vermont, Maine, Texas, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Maryland, Louisiana, Mississippi, Idaho, California, Washington, you name it. I'm coming to every state in 2020. One Saturday every month. There's 52 Saturdays in a year. There's 52 Saturdays in a year. 50 of those Saturdays, okay? 50 of those Saturdays will be spent in a different state, educating Black parents on how to protect their children. We're going through the documentation. We're going through the paperwork. We're going through the procedures. We're going through the laws. We're going through the IEP. We're going through the psychological evaluation. We're going through the manifestation determination. We're going through everything. We're going through everything. Every state will see Dr. Umar in 2020. This is the one time that every Black parent who wants to get the training will get the training. No excuses after 2020.
All right. Now, here's Umar inside of the same year. And in fact, this is around the same time period within that same week. Umar inside of a hotel motel. Living like this. Wow, since 2019. Homeless. He's this great Black leader. This guy. Okay. Now here's him inside. It's a year later. Okay, so it's really, it's a year later. Umar's he's inside his mama's closet. Here's a couple of examples. He has different backdrops. Okay, here's one of them. See the curtains? This is his mama's house. It's a side closet inside his mama's house in his Section 8 house.
Peace and Black Power. Peace and Black Power. Eric. And you're about to put an electrician in play and put an HVAC person in play. I think common sense tells you that if these things are being paid for, then they're probably being paid for out of the funds left over. And if they're not being paid for out of the funds left over, he must be paying for them out of his pocket. It's just kind of common sense.
No, he doesn't have a job. See this? That's why he's back in his mama's closet. He couldn't even afford to pay his rent and got evicted. Remember I showed you guys the receipt, his dirty apartment? Same year. 2019. It's a year before this. A year before the video that you see here. But Umar, he's making up a whole narrative now that he's paying for this out of pocket. He doesn't have a job. He hadn't worked since 2010, 2011. This video is from 2020, and he's saying, "Yeah, well, you know." As a matter of fact, I want to hear what leads up to this. But again, this is a year after he gets evicted from this place,
Wilmington, Delaware. So the apartment is a mess right now. Y'all need to see all that. Please. At gmail.com. FDMG resumes at Gmail.
See, but he wants to paint the narrative that he's spending money. But really, the idea is why he doesn't have money. No, he doesn't have money because he tricked off about $850,000 that he should have been sitting on in 2019. $850,000 over the course from 2014 through 2019. $850,000. So he gets evicted from this place. You start seeing him in motel rooms. You see him in his car, which was a rental car, and then you start seeing him inside his mama's closet. I want to see how he frames this.
Peace and Black Power. Peace and Black Power.
Yeah, it is a hot mess.
Peace and Black Power. Good Garvey evening. Good Garvey evening. Good Garvey evening. Brothers and sisters, you are listening to the voice of none other than Intercontinental Ifeatuone, the Prince of Pan-Africanism, Dr. Umar Ifeatuone. I am at the Ifeatuone Shrine right now.
It's Mama
Where I was
Closet.
last night.
It is Mama Closet. You see what I'm saying? This is Mama Closet, the Ifeatuone Shrine.
Where I am often meditating, live daily.
Lying for sure. Look at poorly lit. See how poorly lit it is?
Honor, thinking, meditating. I seem to have once again taken over
Oh no!
social media.
Oh no! Oh, y'all cut it out. Come on
That is
now.
very common for me, as you all know. I am the most prominent, the most popular,
Y'all tripping.
the most influential,
What's up, these people?
and
That's
the most
crazy.
hated black scholar.
See, and again, Umar Johnson Miles, they used to lie on me about a whole bunch of stuff. And even people that would criticize Umar would lie about me too. But one of the lies they said was my wife and I, if we were on Section 8, we were never on Section 8. But they used to tell these stories. And come to find out all these years later, Umar, and now it's still 2025, he stays inside his mama's closet in his Section 8 housing. Because they got, not to be putting all the business out there, but I believe it was 2020, it could be 2023. And I'll have to say, they were facing eviction from that Section 8 housing because they needed to re-up from the research that I did and from the paperwork online that you can find. There's a process for re-upping. I'll probably explain this. To re-qualifying, I guess, for Section 8. And I don't know if it's yearly or bi-yearly or every 5 years, whatever. I don't know. But what that process hadn't taken place. And see, if Umar is supposed to be the primary caretaker, see, that's the other thing. Umar started talking about how he's the primary caretaker for his mama. But that's because he was living with his mama. He didn't have his own place. That's his way of justifying why he was inside his mama closet. This guy, he's something else. Y'all remember that? I have it when he initially announced it, and that's one of the reasons why he was saying that he didn't want to get the school in Atlanta, because he had an Atlanta school scam too. He didn't want to get that one because he wanted something that was close to Philadelphia, because it's the primary caretaker for his mama. This is Umar Johnson. It's fascinating. I just put the pieces together. Really what he was doing, he's trying to put together a scenario where he can justify why it is that he stays inside his mama's closet. That's what it comes down to. But see, it's legit, it's Section 8 housing, and for whatever reason, proper paperwork wasn't put in to renew, and the landlord, because the landlord put in the paperwork to get the eviction, but they were able to resolve it, and they're still staying there, and Umar still stays there too. But that's Section 8 housing. Isn't that, see how this all comes back around? But these Umar Johnson followers, they were making all kind of lies about me and my wife. That's one thing I'll tell you, I've never lied about Umar. My research has been in error at times, but the more and more I've researched and I've really dug deeper into Umar, the more and more of the research pans out all the way across the board. And then there's things that I'm not quite sure about, so I give Umar the benefit of the doubt on those things. But if I say something like Umar was evicted back in 2010 and in 2019, I can actually show you the paperwork. If I tell y'all this is order, I can show you the video. I can show you how he's hoarding now at these abandoned villages and women's in Delaware. He's turned those into, they're just hoarding spaces. I told people that Umar, I can say that. I do have when the woman made those accusations about Umar. Okay, but I can't verify. But I'll tell Umar he likes to gamble. I can pull up 2 videos of Umar gambling. So the point is, I'm putting the pieces together. Why Umar is saying this in this video? It is because when he's talking about I'm at my shrine where I was at last night. Yeah, you were there last night. I had that video too, because you were staying at your mama's closet. When he didn't have the money to have his own to rent out his own hotel or motel room, to pay for his own motel room. or when he didn't have a speaking engagement, when they called him out and paid. That's why he's always begging for speaking engagement. Y'all realize that even in 2025, if he didn't have a speaking engagement, well, he always ends right back up in his mama closet. Just like at some point, he gonna end right back up in his mama closet. We'll cover it, don't worry. Hey, but he has different backdrops for his mama closet. Here's one of them.
The world, all at the same time. Quite a unique phenomenon. To be both the most loved African scholar in the world,
Listen,
and the most hated American African scholar in the country.
narcissist.
I get the most love. I get the most hate. I think you can see the dichotomy illustrated when you look at my two most recent interviews that were posted. You have the interview that I did on the Cannon's Class podcast versus the interview I did on the Godcast.
Yeah,
Both of
yep.
which I am glad I did.
He went crazy
Both
on that one.
of which are hosted by brothers and sisters who I love and respect. Nothing but love and respect for Brother Nick Cannon, nothing but love and respect for Lord Jamar, nothing but love and respect for Rod Digger and Godfrey, who was not present during the interview. And the reason I love the diversity in interviews is because in the case of a Nick Cannon interview, you have the opportunity to educate, to demonstrate, okay, your full arsenal of intellectual material and solutions. I go to the Breakfast Club. You have the opportunity to demonstrate the full comprehensive of the Roland original. And then there's the Roland Martin interview.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the Godcast interview.
He
I would not put the Godcast interview within the same vein as the Roland Martin interview, but it clearly was not one that sought to educate the community as much as it was one that sought to continuously underscore the same ridiculous
What's up, Art? What's up, Sports Bet?
that I have answered.
What's up, Chris?
Repeatedly for the past 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I guess for me, one of the frustrating things about doing
Oh, it was big. It was a huge kerfuffle. Matter of fact, I have it queued up right here. I'll play a little of that for the timeline. That's in 2021. I think it was right before he did this because he really went crazy on that Lord Jamar interview, and a lot of people woke up to the fact that Umar's a scam artist in that particular. But that's the video. He called me he was saying that I'd be messing with boys and I was gay and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, I got it right here. I already pulled it up. Don't worry. We got time today. I'm taking my time. Oh, you're so welcome, Patrick. Yeah, I got time today. What's up, Fairchild? He sure was. We'll get into that. I'll pull it up. And then they had beef. You know, Umar was taking shots at Lord Jamar, didn't find it. Lord Jamar. I have all the videos. Then Lord Jamar finally went back at him, and then at some point they called these abandoned buildings haunted houses. Godfrey said that. Let me just play a little more because I want to see what he talking about where he talking about money coming out of his own pocket. Remember, Umar, he's homeless at this point. That's why he's in this other mama closet right here. Umar also, he doesn't have a job. He's jobless. He hadn't worked since 2010, 2011. If anyone has any proof, evidence that can prove beyond that, please send it to me. Okay? Again, like I said, there's a picture of Umar. He's sitting, it looks like he could be his own person. He has his own personal. That was in 2014. He had his own place at that time. He could have had a side office, but he's so filthy, I don't see how he'd be able to do that. I mean, there was still clutter on the desk and everything. But anyway, it could be argued that maybe he was working somewhere in 2014. It's possible, but I don't think so because he's traveling all over the world. What I would say is that if he was working, it was probably for just a matter of months, because Umar's traveling. His travel schedule really picks up by the time we get after Hidden Colors. We get into 2012, 2013. he's already given up his responsibilities as he gives up his career as a school psychologist. So if he did work, it had to have been just for a few months, and then he's back on the road again doing what he's done. He's been on the road consistently since 2011, and that's when Hidden Colors came out. But by the time we get into 2014, that's when we get into Umar. But I would say his golden age, where he started to bring in the most amount of money, he's getting the most amount of attention, and people took him serious back then. These days, he still has he's a social media influencer. He has a lot of followers, followers on Instagram, over 1 million. But a lot of people see him as a joke these days. They see him for what he is. He's a narcissistic con man. And he's someone that most people who watch Umar, they see him for entertainment purposes more than anything else. Back then, professionals would come out to listen to Umar, right? Not these days. And for many years now, people would come up. They would come in suits and ties. You know, people who were school psychologists would come and listen to Umar. That was in his golden age. That was in his heyday. But he has crumbled and fallen so low, and there's reasons for that. Okay? Obviously, by 2019, he's on falling off big time inside of Mala Close.
Interviews is when you get questions, not just that you already answered, but I would probably venture to say getting questions that the person answering the question, asking the question, probably already knows the answer to.
Fairchild says someone posted that King Randall has entered the chat. Hey, I'm not sure. I haven't seen that. Yeah, shout out to King Randall. If you are in the chat room, or if you happen to see this video, we covered how Umar scammed you out of. It's not just you, scammed you and your organization out of, I think it was $3,200 something dollars. Someone remember how much? Somewhere around there. But Umar has a history of that type of behavior. We've covered that many times over. He scammed a lot of organizations. And from what I understood, you, if in fact King Randall in the chat room, you had paid Umar in advance for him to come out to speak for your boys, for the school that you actually put together, and it is functional. And Umar didn't show up, and he cancels, and he didn't want to issue a refund. Umar's known for doing that, so that's not extraordinary whatsoever. Yeah, and if you are in the chat room, and even if you want to come up during the live stream, you want to talk, you're welcome to do something. Just let me know inside the channel. Thanks, Fairchild, for letting me know. Okay, let's keep on here.
If you purchase a building for a certain amount of money and there's a little bit of money left over, and you're constantly telling the people that you got to pay to get the grass cut.
See how much this guy lies? He says he has to pay to get the grass cut, right? Hold on one second. Let me pull this up.